Right, hello guys, welcome to another video. We are here in the park. Nice autumn colours around. We've come here to film the iPhone XS Max camera review. On the iPhone XS and the 10, there isn't that much difference apart from a few key factors like the Smart HDR and the new portrait feature as well. We've got one wide-angle lens, which is just your normal camera. That is a 1.8 aperture, and then we have the Telephoto lens, which is quite cool, which starts at 2.4 aperture. So that means it's an actual real lens, unlike the Google Pixel 2 I had previously to this phone. When you zoomed in, it was all software and stuff. And you can watch my review on the camera on that, which is a few videos back on my channel. But I think I prefer this much better because it's actually a real lens, a real secondary lens, which you can zoom in. It's not fake, it's not digital, it's 2x optical telephoto lens. So that means it's actually real zooming in with a secondary lens. And you can actually see it change to the 2x when you do the scroll wheel on the camera. And then beyond that is 10x digital zoom. So like any other smartphone, it has kind of 10x digital zoom. Even some DSLR cameras have that as well. But it's nice to have the 2x optical zoom within the camera. So yeah, that's the two cameras on the back. 1.8 aperture is quite good, lets in enough light. They have enhanced the sensor a little bit from the previous phone, which is all good. One more camera on the front, which is the true depth camera, which Apple calls it. 7 megapixels, 2.2 aperture, and you can also do the portrait mode on that as well. I think it is a little bit wider from the previous models which Apple have brought out. Actually, I'm not sure if it's as wide as the Google Pixel 2. I'll have to compare both cameras. My girlfriend still has the camera, so if we want a review between the two cameras, the Google Pixel 2 and the iPhone XS Max, we can do that as well. Other specs, I mean, let's get on to video. Obviously there's 4K, you've got 240 frames per second and 120 frames per second at HD, which is quite good. Also 60p as well. 4K, I haven't tried it out on the iPhone XS Max actually. We'll do some testing today out in the woods. Okay, so what else can we say? The 5 modes in the portrait mode, contour light, studio light and all that stuff. I don't really use them. I feel it's pointless from my point of view. This is a park, so and it's Saturday, so all the dogs are out. Yeah, so all the 5 modes on the portrait mode, I don't really feel as if I need them. I mean, from a photography point of view, they're not great. I'd rather just do it in a studio or something professionally rather than on a phone. Doesn't really work that well. I mean, on the iPhone XS Max, it is slightly enhanced a little bit, but still, it's still a bit gimmicky and a bit fake. Also, that brings me on to the bokeh mode. So when you're in portrait mode, you can change the amount of bokeh in the background or the amount of blur. So you can go right down to 1.4 and put it up right to f8 and stuff like that, and f16. We'll have to do some real testing of this. I mean, I have tried it. All it does is just change the blur in the background, but you can't really compare it to a proper DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera with a 1.8 aperture lens on the body. We'll have to do some testing with that, maybe against my A7R2 with a 50mm 1.8 and the iPhone XS Max, and then put the aperture actually on 1.8 and see if it is actually the same. But I haven't used it as such. I just like normally taking it as it is, just on the portrait mode. I mean, that does it for me. I don't really feel the need to. I mean, this is kind of, it's strange because I use a lot of the mirrorless cameras, as you know, and the iPhone, just for me, is just really taking snaps of kind of fun stuff and walks out of the dog and all that stuff. So I don't really use it professionally. I mean, I don't really know anyone that uses it professionally. I mean, some people use the iPhone on Instagram. They do one shot in a while saying, "I've shot an iPhone," you know, the hashtag. But I don't really see it that much now. I mean, you're always going to get that same look with a smartphone anyway. It's, you know, the sensors are really small. They're not full frame sensors. They're not even APS-C sensors. So all smartphones are going to look kind of similar. If you really want to be professional with a smartphone, you can, but I suggest kind of getting lenses to fix on the back of your camera and stuff like that. If you brought an iPhone to a shoot for a client, they'll be saying, "Oh, you're just shooting on the phone. What is this?" I mean, the iPhone and stuff can take good photos, but from a photographer's point of view, the DSLR and the mirrorless will always win. That's just how it is. I mean, maybe in the future, possibly, but I think it's a nice separation at the moment where the iPhone and the rest of the smartphone kind of community is separate to the DSLR and mirrorless community and the APS-C kind of professional camera, consumer camera stuff. And it's nice to have that gap. Otherwise, if all the phones were up to kind of the standard of DSLR and mirrorless, I mean, no one will buy the cameras. I think that's still a nice gap. But I think all these smartphone companies are kind of trying to reach the professionalism of the DSLR mirrorless. I hope they still keep that gap, otherwise there'll be no kind of, I mean, everyone will be a photographer in 2025. I mean, it's, the skill there is losing a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on smartphone cameras. Anyway, let's go out and walk around and let's test the the camera, the 2 lenses, the portrait mode, also the true depth camera, and let's test some video as well. Let's go. God, all the dogs are going absolutely mad. I thought it would be nice and quiet because in here you can never secure a bench, but there's so many benches available. But instead there's a load of barking dogs. But look how nice these colours are. Such a nice day. I love it when it's this kind of time of the year with the autumn colours and stuff. So what I'm using is just a normal camera, and I've got the HDR, smart HDR mode on. So that's a new feature for the iPhone XS Max and the XS as well. So what it is, I think it's, remember in the old iPhone's cameras they used to kind of, these dogs. You're gonna have to bear with me with the noise and stuff. This always happens. This is so annoying. Kids screaming about, and now we've got a drone in the air. I've never seen a drone here, and there's a drone in the air. So yeah, what I was saying on the exposure on the old cameras, if you expose for the shadows, it would just brighten out the sun, and you couldn't see any detail in the sky. And then when you press the sky to expose it, all the shadows will be kind of blotched out and stuff, and you couldn't really see them. But now that has drastically changed with the new smart HDR. It's so much better now. I can expose for the sky and have the shadows perfectly in detail and stuff, and then I can expose for the shadows as well, and everything will be perfectly exposed across the board. And comparing it to the Google Pixel 2, I mean, they're very similar in kind of the HDR aspect, but I think the iPhone just tops it a little bit, because I mean the Google Pixel 2 could normally look quite fake, and that really HDR look, which I don't like. The iPhone is a good balance. You're going to get good shadows, you're going to get good highlights with the camera, also good colours as well. The iPhones tend to be slightly warmer, and coincidentally we're in autumn now, so it kind of goes quite nice. So let's carry on, let's take some more photos down here. So I mean the smart HDR is good, but when I toggle it on and off on the camera, there's a little setting up here that says HDR, when I toggle it off, it doesn't make too much difference. It's only in really bright light when you see it kind of fade the whites a little bit when you turn it into HDR. But I think the overall camera is kind of, they've made it more enhanced now, where it kind of, the whole camera is HDR. In the previous iPhone X, it was a lot more contrasty and you could see a lot more blacks. But with this one, the shadow, they've really raised the shadows and it kind of looks quite faded actually. I'm not sure if I like that. I kind of like photos with a little bit more contrast. I think they've made, if they could bring down the darks just a little bit, without being too much in the shadows, too much detail in the shadows, it looks like you've kind of gone into Lightroom or editing software and kind of boosted the shadows a little bit. So if the shadows were down a little bit to add more contrast, I think this would be a really good camera, smartphone camera. Okay, this is a good example here of the HDR and just the camera in general. So if I take in HDR, we've got this nice dew on the ground, it's still glistening through there with the light, and we've got the blue sky up there, and we've got the sun behind the tree. Previously an iPhone would just blur out the whole thing and whiten it. This is so nice, it's got the deep blue of the sky. And if I turn off HDR, I'll put them side by side. There's not much difference, as I said. All it's doing is just kind of fading the whites a little bit to retain more detail in the highlights. As I said, I think the whole camera's been enhanced to kind of make it that HDR look. And also there was a thing going around about beauty gate. So if you turn around the photo and you're on portrait mode, now it's kind of a, I don't know if it's actually true, but they were calling it beauty gate, that the actual camera was enhancing your face and making it look smooth. But I think that's just to do with the kind of HDR look on the camera, as it's bumping the shadows up, so it makes you look like you've got softer skin. I don't think there's actually any kind of portrait smoothing going on or beauty mode in the camera, because I haven't seen it on the camera. So if I take a photo of myself, you can see the shadows are very brought up. As I said, I would like to see more contrast in the camera. But all in all, brightening up the shadows is going to give you more detail within the shadows. And later on in post you can go down and add more contrast or whatever, but you do have to edit your photos. Or you can edit them in the actual camera. You can go to photo, press edit, and then you can go down to the light, colour, brilliance. What is that? There's a mode called brilliance. That's hilarious. Exposure, highlight, shadows, brightness, contrast, and the black point. So if the shadows are too pumped for you, you can go down and change the black point, which is much better. But again, that takes more time and you have to go through all your photos to edit them. If you do use iPhone to post on Instagram, then yeah, obviously it's a good thing to edit the photos, because that's what you're doing, you know, that's kind of your workflow. But if you're just taking snaps and stuff, it's going to be good. You know, you're going to be happy with the photos, obviously. And I said in my previous video 5 things I miss about Apple. I prefer the iPhone camera actually to the Google Pixel 2, because I think the Google Pixel 2 is I think it's far too gimmicky for me. All software, I mean, software at the end of the day, it's just software. It's not real lens camera, which I like. Being a photographer, obviously I use lenses and cameras. Obviously I'm going to pick that over the software, and having dual lenses on the back is just is a nice treat. These colours are coming out really nice. Right, let's go ahead and do some of the portrait mode. Okay, portrait mode. So, I mean, I can show you the studio light, contour light, stage light, and stage light mono. I might take one of them, but they don't really interest me. I mean, I don't really know who's going to use them. It's normally just for a joke to show your friends, and kind of entertainment factor. I'm not going to use them professionally. So we're just going to stick with a natural light. We've got this nice tunnel of trees down here, which is quite cool. So I'm going to get Hannah to stand there. I'm going to take some portraits on the back camera, and then we can do some selfies and have some fun with that as well. Cool, right, so let's take some. With these, I'm going to do just the portrait mode, and I'll show you how to edit the bokeh. You can change it to 1.4 all the way up to, I think it's f16. And yeah, we'll see how that works as well. Right, so the subject has to stand within 8 feet. I mean, it does look nice. I've got to give it to them. Is this actually portrait mode? It looks different. Oh, you got your eyes closed in that one, brilliant. Yeah, portrait mode. I mean, I would say it is definitely improved since the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 was kind of like a beta thing, and you'd get kind of, if you take it with a lot of leaves around the subject and stuff, it would kind of miss them out, and you'd get gaps within the blur and stuff. But this, I think it's much better. They have enhanced it. It's nice with a light behind you there. Let's see how far we can actually go. I did say 8 feet. Is that about 8 foot?
More than 8 feet.
It says move closer. Move closer there. It's nice. We've got the sun coming in from the left. Yeah, I mean, these do look good, but I mean, come on. It's not compared. You can't compare it to a nice 50mm 1.4 or a 35mm 1.4. It just doesn't. Oh, we've got some nice sun flare there. Yeah, let's try that. Move closer. Okay, so now the sun is right on her face. Let's see how that copes. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, the HDR, you can see the HDR working. It's made the highlights on her face nice to retain the detail. The blur is not bad, you know. I mean, I think you have to find that nice focal length. I think if we go too close, the blur does get a little bit fake. It does look a bit weird with the hair, you can see. Obviously the fall off is not going to be as nice as a 1.8 lens or 1.4 lens or even a 2.8, as I said. But if we come back here and take the photo there, I think that's pretty nice. So yeah, pick your focal length wisely with the portrait mode. I mean, are these post worthy? Will I post them? Probably. I mean, I've done quite a few in the past where I've posted, but you have to get the right kind of composition. You have to get nice things kind of in the foreground and the background and stuff to actually make it look nice. I mean, if you're just taking a portrait mode with not much going on, it can look a bit boring, and then more people notice the blur is actually, oh, it's been taken on an iPhone. So if you really think about your composition when you're taking portrait modes, you can make nice photos. Obviously I'll throw those up now, you can have a look and you can be the judge of that. But yeah, I'm still going to pick my actual lenses on my camera over the portrait mode kind of every single time. I mean, those are nice. I mean, if you're just walking out, say it's a birthday occasion or something like that, you want to take some nice photos of the family or keep some cool shots on your phone, that's what kind of I would do. Not really going to use it professionally, as I said, but yeah, this is my kind of honest opinion on the camera. I'm not saying it's a bad camera, I'm not saying the portrait mode is bad. It's considerably more improved than the previous camera, than the previous portrait mode on the iPhone 10, also the iPhone 8 as well. So yeah, not saying it's bad. It's a very good camera to use on the smartphone. I think I prefer it way better than the Google phones, I think. Now onto the telephoto lens. So we've taken a bunch of photos with a normal focal length. Now if you press on the little button down here 1 time, if you press you can go to 2 times. Now that is telephoto. So that is actually using the real lens on the back. The secondary lens, if you move it again, the 2 times, if you move it beyond that, anything beyond 2 times is digital zoom, and that goes all the way up to 10 times. Okay, so that's using software, that's digital. So let's go ahead and take some 2 times zoom. It looks pretty good. We'll still use the tunnel of trees as a composition. So this is 1 times and 2 times. I mean, I rarely put iPhone photos on my laptop and have a look at them in intricate detail. But to me, if I just zoom in on the phone here, I mean, not until you get really zoomed in you can see it's obviously quite pixelated, and the detail's kind of lost. And on the zoom photo, it's kind of the same. If you zoom, well, it's all right actually. I'll do a zoomed in crop on the screen now, so you can see the detail. It trumps the Pixel 2 insanely. I mean, I said this in my last video as well, on the 5 things I missed about Apple. The digital zoom on the Pixel is just crap. We just need to mention that. It's not very good. I think, and that's the reason why I didn't put any kind of zoomed in photos on the Google Pixel camera review, because I was trying to make the Google Pixel 2 look good, but at the end of the day, the digital zoom, if you don't have a secondary camera on the back of your phone to do telephoto shots, it's not going to be good if you use kind of digital zoom. The iPhone retains a lot more detail obviously than the Google Pixel 2, because it actually has a secondary lens and it's using a 2 times telephoto lens. We'll do a couple more examples down here, but yeah, it's alright, it's good. Right, really nice colours here. Okay, so normal focal length times 2. I mean, they do look good. It's still 12 megapixels on the second camera. I mean, yeah, it does look good, but kind of, if you're taking 2 times, don't crop anymore, because if you zoom in, it does look kind of smudgy. Let's do a 10 times zoom, just for jokes. Zoom right all the way to 10 times. Jesus Christ. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, it kind of looks like, you know, I'll throw it up on screen now. It kind of looks like the trees in Mario, in one of the Mario games, the Mario Kart games, or Mario Super Brothers, when you're jumping across the bricks, yeah, and you see the trees in the background. It looks like that. It looks identical to that. But yeah, 10 times, don't go near it, unless you're doing like a funny Snapchat or something like that. I do want to mention about that actually. When I was on the Google Pixel 2 and I zoomed in on Snapchat or Instagram stories, it was crap. It didn't really handle it properly, and that may have been because of Android and the app issues and stuff. But yeah, on iPhone it's so smooth when you zoom in on Snapchat, when you zoom in on Instagram stories and stuff like that. I mean, when people buy phones, that's probably the only reason they're going to buy them, to piss about on Snapchat. But yeah, it does work nicer than the Google Pixel on that front, if you want to know that. But yeah, let's do some close-up photos now. We've got this spiky tree here, and I'm on the normal camera. This is not portrait, this is not telephoto, this is just the normal camera. And as it's 1.8, it does look quite nice actually. We have got some small amount of blur in the background, and the focal distance is quite close. I'm surprised. That's what, like 10 centimeters at 1.8 aperture. I mean, I don't know if this is true 1.8 aperture. We'll have to find out when I do a video comparing proper lens to iPhone lens. Right, enough taking photos now. Let's get on to the video aspects. It's annoying with the camera because when you're in the camera, you choose video, but you don't know what the setting is. You have to come out of the camera and go into the settings. I wish Apple would implement the settings to change the frame rate and the resolution of the video inside the camera instead of inside the settings. So record video, let's do it at 4K 30 to start off. Actually 4K 24, because that's what I'm rolling in right now on my camera. So 4K 24 FPS. Go to video. So it does, actually it does tell you in the top right corner it says 4K 24, but to change it you have to go into settings, which is a tad annoying. Right, I'm going to walk around and record on this. Again, it's got better with the HDR. There's a lot of details in the shadows, and if I point towards the sun, it's doing quite well actually. It's still got the blue around the sun, which is good. Also, when you're filming in 4K, you can take photos, or you can take photos in any video setting, but when you're doing it in 4K, when you take a photo, it's an 8 megapixel shot, which is quite good. It looks quite crisp on the camera at the moment. Obviously I'm using the 6.5 inch screen on the XS Max. It's got a resolution of 2800 by 1000 something, I'm not quite sure, but it's higher resolution than the normal iPhone XS. So I forgot to mention about image stabilization. We've got it in the camera and also the video. So I'm going to do a test here. We're still in 4K 24, and if I walk along with the camera, you can see that it's pretty stable. And also the 2x telephoto lens works the same. So if I zoom in here, if I press 1 time, it goes to 2, and we can see the 2 times there. It's quite good actually. Not bad. Also with the 4K, we've got 60 FPS, which is cool. Let me just get out of the camera and go into settings to change it. 60 FPS. Let me do some here. Do something fast.
Oh,
yeah,
jump.
Jump in the air then. Jump. Drop my camera, jump. Right, okay. So that's the 4K 60. Where's the, oh, slow-mo, here we go. There's another setting for slow-mo. We've got 1080, 120, we've got 1080, 240. Let's dive right into 240, 1080. Oh, you have to choose slow-mo, okay, on the camera, right.
Oh, you're such a weirdo. Come back.
Okay, so that was the 240, 1080. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory, 1080, 120. You've all seen it before on different reviews. Just give you a snippet there. But yeah, I'm out of breath now. Would I use the iPhone camera to kind of film kind of a sit-down video like I do, kind of a vlog or stuff like that? Maybe. I mean, the 4K 60 is good. On the iPhone 10, I did a little short film up in the Lake District with that, which is nice. I used the Osmo as well, the DJI Osmo as well. It worked really well on that actually, the 4K 60. I haven't tested the iPhone XS Max on it. I'm not sure if it'll fit. I'm pretty sure it will on the Osmo. So if you do want a video with that, drop a comment down below and I'll film it. So yeah, would I kind of put my camera on like a tripod and film in 4K at my desk? Possibly. But I wouldn't get the nice kind of creamy effect with my nice lenses and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think if I were to do it, say situations there, if I ran out of battery on the camera, it would be probably a replacement, yeah. And I want to maintain the 4K in the video, I would then probably use my iPhone. For vlogging, I don't know, it's 1080. You can do 60p on the front camera, which is quite cool. I don't really see the point, unless you're doing kind of funny faces. Yeah, this is 60p at the moment. It looks alright. I mean, it looks pretty slushy because it's 60p. Your eye's gonna go funny. But yeah, vlogging, I'm not sure. I think it's too close. I like vlogging on the 10-18, which I've got at the moment. I kind of feel like my arm has to be so stretched out to even vlog on this. Okay, so conclusion then. Yeah, I don't really know how... Let me break this down into kind of two people. I mean, if you're not a photographer, and you just want a phone that takes good photos, blah blah blah, all of that, then yeah, go ahead and buy it, it'll be great. You can take good photos, they won't be shit, they'll be nice, they have a lot of detail in them. The new HDR setting is amazing, it's good. Video mode is awesome, 4K 60, 4K 30, 1080, 240, 1080, 120, there's so many things, so many variants you can use, which is nice. You can make little films out of them, which is good, it won't look shit. But if you're a photographer, now this is kind of strange, and it's a hard one. The phone costs £1,099 and £1,000, 1999 for the XS. XS Max you pay, XS Max you pay an extra £100. £1,099 is about the same as an A6500 at the moment, body only. I mean, Jesus Christ. Oh, actually no, it's less. If you pay, yeah, an A6000 will probably be about £600, and you can get a nice lens on it. You're probably better off if you're a photographer, you're starting out, or even if you're just a photographer, you've been doing it for ages, and you're thinking about getting a good camera, smartphone, or a kind of secondary camera. Always go for the secondary camera, as in a mirrorless or DSLR. You're better off spending your £1,000 on a nice lens and kind of a backup body to your main body, or even just your first camera body, and then go buy like I don't know, an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 7, or even, you know, a used iPhone XS or an iPhone 10. I think the iPhone 10 are going for about £600 right now. But yeah, if you want to, it's strange because if you're a photographer, you'd rather spend your £1,000 on camera gear rather than shedding it on a phone. Now obviously you're all going to be saying, oh, so why did you buy it then? Mainly because I already have my cameras here. I mean, I could have spent it on a nice lens, but I had the Google Pixel 2 before and I wanted to get rid of it, and I sold it, so I didn't have to pay that much to get the iPhone XS. I sold my Google Pixel 2 for like 500 quid, so it was only 500 to get the phone for me. So it kind of makes sense to do that way. But if you're looking to spend £1,000 outright, and if you're a photographer, probably look at some lenses and some cameras, or how to up your gear as a photographer, rather than kind of splashing out on the phone. If you're a person who isn't a photographer, and you're looking for a new phone, you're looking for the best kind of phones in the market, I mean, iPhone's up there. The iPhone XS Max is up there. Is a good contender. Obviously do look at other phones, but yeah, the Smart HDR setting is really good. Animoji is always fun, Memoji and stuff like that. The video mode I think is the best on any smartphone. That's a bold claim, but I think it is the best. 4K 60, it's really stable. You can get some really nice shots out of that. Right, so I think that pretty much concludes it. Guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Comments, questions or anything like that, post them down below and I should reply to them. So I am looking to do a comparison video with my Sony a7R II with a 50mm 1.8 on and the iPhone X camera, and then changing the bokeh to 1.8 and seeing if it actually is kind of similar to that. So that'll be an interesting kind of comparison video to do. Also, if you want a Google Pixel 2 XL against the XS Max, my girlfriend still has the phone, so we can do a comparison video with that. I think I'll only do the cameras. Not that fussed on kind of the software and Android anymore. I want to kind of go the direction of kind of photography, which is kind of based on this channel. But yeah, any suggestions, drop them down below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.